Okay, let's begin with general information regarding the reformatted California bar examination. I'd like to address four areas. First, the scope of the California bar examination. Second, the new two-day bar exam schedule. Third, the grading of the California bar examination. And fourth, I'd like to address rumors as to why the July pass rates in California are much higher than the February pass rates in California. Let's begin with the scope of the California bar examination. Let's take a look at slide number 1. Now you'll notice on the slide number 1, the scope of the California bar examination, we have 4 categories covering 15 subjects. Category number 1 would be the remedies category: torts, contracts, property, and of course remedies. The category number 2, the constitutional law category: criminal law, criminal procedure, evidence, constitutional law. The category number 3, the California subjects: wills, trust, community property, professional responsibility. And category number 4, residual, including civil procedure, business associations, sometimes referred to as business organizations, which includes corporations and agency and partnership. We also have detailed by asterisk the multi-state subjects. Again, multi-state means the same thing as MB or multiple choice subjects, and they are as follows: torts, contracts, and property. Now, remedies is tested on the multiple choice as part of those subjects. It's not considered a separate subject, but of course, you can have remedies as part of torts, contracts, and property MBE. Category number 2, criminal law, criminal procedure, evidence, con law. Now, criminal law, crim pro are treated as one subject on the MBE. So you'll find there are 25 questions in each topic. In crim law, crim pro, they're combined. So crim law might have 13 questions, crim pro might have 12 questions for a total of 25. There are no MB subjects in the California category, and civil procedure is the MB subject in the residual category. One important note here is that for purpose of the multiple choice, the evidence test, the federal rules of evidence, and Civ Pro teaches the federal rules of civil procedure. California does test the California rules of evidence and California civil procedure on the essay, but those are not tested on the MB, federal rules only. Now, the third section of the examination will be performance. Performance examinations, we'll discuss in a few minutes, is one 90-minute examination testing lawyering skills. The subjects can be either any of the scope you're looking at, any of those 15 are fair game, but the examiners are not limiting performance to these subjects. They could test, for example, on admiralty law, administrative law, bankruptcy law. They'll give you a file, and if they test you on a subject not included in this particular scope, they'll give you all the information you need in the library to write the performance examination. That is the scope of the California bar examination. Now, what's also important to understand is the new schedule on the California bar. On that note then, let's take a look at slide number 2. The examination has changed from a 3-day test to a 2-day test. Day number 1, AM, 3 essays in the morning, 1 hour each. Keep in mind that is exactly the way the current bar exam has been tested for many, many years. The big change is in the afternoon. In the afternoon, you'll have a 3.5-hour section, that is 2 one-hour essays, followed by one 90-minute performance examination. And you cannot take it out of order. My concern is the examiners might give a racehorse in the afternoon on the essay, and then that may affect your timing. So you'll have to go for 3.5 hours in the PM of day 1. That's 6.5 hours of testing on day number 1. Major change on the bar. Day number 2 has not changed. It's the same topics we have currently, and that is multiple choice. 3 hours, 100 multiple choice in the morning, followed by 3 hours, 100 multiple choice in the afternoon. Thus, a 2-day schedule as opposed to the current 3-day exam that's been carried on for many, many years. Other format changes would be in the multiple choice. There are now 200 questions on the examination. However, 175 of those questions will be scored, 25 each in the 7 subjects. Again, keeping in mind crim law and crim pro are one subject. 25 unscored pretest questions. The pretest questions are indistinguishable from those that are scored. So as an examinee, you would have to answer all the questions. The MB scores will continue to be graded on a 200-point scale. Because the MB scores are equated and scaled, scores will be comparable to those earned when there are more scored questions. There are some subject topic changes that will take place as well, beginning in February 17 forward in real property. In real property, they've added new topics to the multiple choice, including conflicts of laws, property owners associations and common interest ownership communities, drafting, review, negotiation of closing documents, persons authorized to execute real estate documents. Minor modifications include providing specific examples of rules affecting future interests, including security deposits and termination of tenancies, providing more detailed zoning topics, and including as separate topics transfers, restrictive covenants, transfers of easements, profits, and licenses, and acceleration of loans before foreclosure. A couple deletions from the MB beginning in February 2017 forward. Real property will no longer test UCC Article 9 as applied to fixtures or abatement of devises in wills. Minor change in the evidence multiple choice. The allotment of questions will change. There'll be less hearsay questions and more questions in the area of relevance and presentation of evidence. So as you can see, there's been a major change going from a 3-day test to a 2-day bar examination. Third, let's talk about the grading of the California bar examination. Let's take a look at slide number 3. Now, as you can see, the essays performance are now equal 50%. That is 5 essays and 1 90-minute performance exam. Day 1, 50% equates to 700 points. And day 2, 200 multi-state questions, 50%, 700 points. So it's 50% for the writing, 50% for the multiple choice. It should be noted that the raw scores on the performance and essays will be a low of 40 to a high of 100. 65 grade is minimal passing. That is 5 essays, 100 points apiece, and 1 performance exam, which again equates to 200 points because 1 performance equals 2 essays for 700 points total, 50% followed by the MBE, 50%, 700 points total. Now, one quick review of the scaling and the phase grading in the bar examination. How does California scale their examination? Essentially, to scale the scores in the written section to the MBE scores, the examiners locate a student's score on the bell curve for the written section and then gives a student the score equivalent to the same position on the California MBE curve. Thus, if a student scores in the 60th percentile, i.e. wrote better than 60% of her peers, then the student are given a numerical score from the MBE curve corresponding to the 60th percentile. Again, on the new 2,000-point scale of measurement, the applicant must achieve a final score of 1440 or 72% to pass the exam. The magic number is 1440. The exam will still be continually graded on what they call a 3-phase procedure: Phase 1, Phase 2, and Phase 3. Phase 1, all parts of the exam are read and tabulated. That's the essays, performance, MBE. A passing score is 1466 and above. Failing is 1389 and below. Phase 2, the essays and PTs of the applicants with scores of 1390 to 1465 are read a second time by different graders unaware of the grades assigned in phase number 1. It should be pointed out, for example, if grader number 1 gives you a 70 on essay number 1, grader number 2 in phase 2 gives you a 60, your optimum grade will be a 65. After phase 1 and phase 2, then the grades from phase 1 and phase 2 are averaged. Scores of 1440 and above now pass, scores below 1412 now fail. Phase 3, the answers of the applicants with phase 2 scores of 1412 to 1439, because again 1440 is the cutoff, are sent to a reappraisal where a member of the Board of Representatives, or reappraisers as they call them, reviews the entire exam, including the MB scores, and determines de novo whether that student merits a pass or fail on the examination. As you can see, the grading in the California bar has changed dramatically, going to 50% multiple choice, 50% written portion of the examination. Now, the fourth thing I'd like to address are the rumors. I always am asked by many law students why the July bar pass rates are higher than the February pass rates. And the reason is the applicant pool. On the July bar, close to 8,000 students take the examination. 70% of those students are first-time takers. The bulk of those students come from ABA schools. In February, close to about 5,000 students take the examination. That is, 70% of the people who take the February bar are repeaters, those who failed the July bar, or many students come from non-ABA schools for the February bar because most ABA schools don't graduate many students in December for the February bar. One other important rumor that is important to be addressed is the cut rate. California has the highest cut rate on the MB in the United States along with Delaware. The cut rate for the MB is 144. For example, in comparison, New York is 135. Many of the ABA deans and the state accredited deans have written the state bar as well as the California Supreme Court to challenge the arbitrary 144 cut rate on the MB in California. If the examiners, due to the pressure of the ABA schools and state accredited schools, decide to lower the cut rate, that will clearly increase the passing on the California bar examination. Now you should have a much better understanding of the California bar exam. Slide number 1, discuss the scope of the California Bar. Slide number 2, we broke out the bar exam schedule, the 2-day schedule. And slide number 3, we talked about the grading of the examination. Now that you have a better understanding of the California Bar Examination as a whole, I'd like to proceed with part 2 of today's presentation. That is how Fleming's Fundamentals of Law can help you conquer and pass the new California Bar Examination.